The key to a compelling speech is not only grabbing the audience's attention, but holding on to it for the entirety of your speech. And you want to know how you can do that. How can you not only get people's attention, but keep hold of it all the way through your speech? Well, one way you can do that is by speaking provocatively. What do I mean by that? This type of speaking sparks curiosity. Why do you think the way you do? And it helps to challenge pre-existing thoughts about why things are done a certain way, why you think differently. So in this video, I'm going to break down what we can do to use this type of speaking and a couple of warnings as well. There are a couple of ways that you could use to speak in this sort of provocative way, a few techniques. The first one is a rhetorical question that challenges people's assumptions. The second one is to use some form of shocking statistic that really goes against what people believe, that highlights why maybe they're wrong to think that way. And the third is to have a bold statement, something which really might be shocking to the audience, so they've not thought about before in a way maybe they haven't thought about it. Using one of these, or maybe a combination of them through your speech, will help to get people's attention because they immediately go, why? Why do you think this way? Why did you ask that question? It goes against what I believe. Not in a radical, off the wall sort of way. You're not throwing out things. You're not saying the sky isn't blue. No. You actually want to say things that you genuinely believe are true, but that just go against popular opinion. That way, people want to know why you feel the way you do. Now, one thing to be aware of is when using one of these techniques to speak in a sort of provocative way, you will get people who will challenge you, maybe if it's a video in the comments, or if there's a Q&A afterwards, or in some way they may challenge your opinion because obviously you're going against what normal people would say about that topic. That's okay. Just understand that there will be people who need more explanation or who won't agree because you're saying something which is technically going against what people believe. And that's something to be aware of. We can use a provocative statement to engage people's emotions. One great way we can do this is by use of some really compelling, really emotionally charged story. If we talk about something which really plays on people's heartstrings, really draws into their feelings, well, then they will connect with you. They want to hear what you have to say because you are touching on something that fires them up. We get this all the time in movies or in the news. They like to tell a dramatic, a shocking story, something sad, something awful sometimes, because these sort of things get us fired up. They get us raring to talk about why we think that that's unjust, or why we think that's unfair, or why that situation is just so sad. We can also use language that evokes an emotional response. So this isn't necessarily saying something provocative in the sense of going against the norm, but just framing it in a way which gets people fired up. If we were more aggressive in what we're saying, or we really play on the elements in this story which we think are unfair or unjust in an ordinary situation, we can help people to get fired up emotionally and then join us to find out more about what's happening in that story. We can maintain our audience's interest by using a few techniques which can be provocative. For example, we can vary our pace. Now, we can't constantly be all fired up and talking fast. sometimes we've got to slow it down to really bring in the impact when it's necessary. So we want to vary our energy levels, vary our pace, our speed, our volume, our pitch, because these things can help connect us with the audience. And if we're really getting to the point of the story, which is dramatic, we really want to hit home about how devastating this is, or how this is such an important point, we can do that by changing the energy levels through our speech, bringing them up, lowering them down. Another great way is to use pauses. Dramatic effect through pauses. Your audience is listening, and when you stop for a second, they catch up. That can help them to emotionally prepare themselves for the next statement you'll make. So use a pause to give time for emphasis, and for the audience, give them a moment. Because if you're using this sort of provocative speaking, you're going to be highly charging them, and they need a moment, maybe even to calm down from what you're saying. Another really good way to maintain the audience's interest is to bring them into what you're saying. For example, you're talking about something that is provocative. You feel that way, and you know that it's the truth because that's what you found from your research and from your experience. Why not poll the audience? Who else feels like you do? Ask them to raise their hand. The results might be shocking. And some of the audience might be surprised that so many other people in the audience feel the same way as you. Or you might be surprised to find out that very few feel the same way as you. But then you have the opportunity to expand. Why is this the way I feel? Educate, teach, and share your knowledge with the audience. Now we have to be aware that when we speak in this way, we will divide people. Some people will see it the way that you do, and some people just won't. That's why it's a provocative issue. We can use this to our advantage, maybe just in part of our speech, maybe just in the beginning to grab that attention, but then use other techniques to maintain it. Recurring hooks, good questions, bold statements, but we don't want to fire our audience up and repel them away from us. That would be the opposite of trying to maintain their attention. So we want to be careful about how we use this. It's very powerful, but if we really are making some sort of bold, radical statement, we could divide our audience. So be careful how you use this sort of speaking, because it can be very powerful, but it can also be very divisive. I hope you found this video interesting. If you did, click a like button, the subscribe button for more, and I'll see you in the next one.